Hello to our friends in Iowa and Western Illinois. Welcome to this special virtual town hall discussion by Bickford Senior Living. Hi there, my name is Melissa Smith and I will be your facilitator for this town hall discussion and question and answer session today about all things coronavirus vaccine. So before we do anything else, I want to help you ask a question today. In fact, we want you to ask a question at any time during this presentation. So the box that I'm sitting in here, or the box that you see that slide in right now that says ask a question, right below there is a form. You just type in your name, type in the question, hit submit, and that comes straight to us, and we will get to your questions at some point throughout the presentation today so that we make sure and get your questions answered for sure. So what are we going to accomplish today? I think that's always a good thing to talk about. So we're going to answer questions you may have about the vaccine and its distribution to seniors in general and to those seniors moving into Bickford senior living communities in your area. We're going to provide you with a timeline of vaccine distribution at all of the Bickford locations in your area. And for those of you who are hoping to move into Bickford in time to receive the vaccine, to take advantage of this opportunity, we will share the necessary steps to take to make that happen in time for the vaccine deadline. So I don't know about you, but I have been so excited and really comforted by the fact that this vaccine has finally arrived. It's being distributed, and folks are getting this vaccine, and I really believe it's going to be the thing that's going to knock out COVID-19. But I'm not a health professional. We have a couple of those coming up here in just a minute. But just to reflect a bit, there have been way more than 20 million people who've been infected with COVID-19 since all of this happened about a year ago or began about a year ago. And of course, the death statistics are simply staggering for those seniors who are over the age of 65. So what Bickford did last fall is that they proactively entered into what's called the Federal COVID-19 vaccination program. And that's how they were able to have access to the vaccine early to begin the rollout of the vaccination throughout the communities. And we're going to show you some dates here in just a minute that we'll take a look at when those are going to hit the communities. Well, here they are right now for Western Iowa. Those are the dates that the deadlines that you want to keep in mind. So take a look at those if you're in the Western Iowa area, to look at the familiar communities there and what those deadlines are. And then we're going to show you also those in the Eastern Iowa and the Illinois area as well. So there's a list of those there and a deadline as well for those. But let me explain something. So when you see the word deadline on there, deadline doesn't mean that you're all moved in and you've got the pictures on the shelf, okay, in the apartment. It means that there is a signed agreement. It means that you have made a commitment to an apartment in the community. And so that's a really important piece to understand about those particular deadlines. So we're going to get into the details in a little bit about how that happens and how Bickford helps you with that. And then, of course, we're going to get into all those details a little bit later. So we're going to take these slides down in a moment, but I don't want you to worry because we're going to get back to that in just a little bit with more information. Now, let's go ahead and get some of those basic questions answered, some of those commonly asked questions about the vaccine. And to do that, we have two of Bickford's executives who are joining us. First, we have Ann Cheverton. Ann is the Senior Vice President of Resident Services. Hey, Ann, thanks for being with us this morning.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Great. And then we also have Alan Fairbanks, and Alan is the Executive Vice President of Operations. Alan, thanks for being with us.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. Thanks for having us. Appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. So I think the very first question we want to get to in terms of these basic questions kind of out of the way is, which vaccine is Bickford administering to their residents, to their Bickford family members, the caregivers and such? And then how many doses does this vaccine require? And I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for that, Melissa. So initially, we have partnered with Walgreens to conduct clinics in all of our locations. And the initial vaccine is Pfizer. In the majority of our states and locations, that will be the vaccine. There may be, as most of us know, there's some Moderna's been approved, and there's an opportunity that it could be that that gets utilized later on. But what we do know is this: whatever vaccine is utilized, that will be the vaccine that is consistently utilized in that branch and in that clinic. And there will be 2 doses that are administered. They are generally going to be 28 days apart. So what we've been experiencing is when Walgreens has scheduled our initial clinic date, they've also scheduled a second date, in addition a third date, to be able to potentially pick up any individuals that have moved in after that initial clinic has taken place. So the trials have indicated that to be most effective, and we've seen 94% plus effective rates with the vaccine, you must take both vaccines, both doses, not just one dose. So it's 2 doses and typically 28 days apart. And the clinics are being conducted by Walgreens, usually Pfizer, could be Moderna, depending on each individual state and that local Walgreens location.
So to follow up with that, Alan, will the folks from Walgreens then come to the community to do that, or will the residents have to go to Walgreens?
No, they'll come to the community. Walgreens will come conduct clinics in our locations. They will come with their own personnel. And certainly Bickford will have personnel to support that as well, from an RN perspective, from a leadership director perspective. So there will be Bickford personnel there as well. So we'll have you covered from Walgreens personnel, and Bickford's personnel. Will be plenty of people there to hold your hand throughout the entire process.
Fantastic. So Ann, this is probably for you. So why would you say, as a health professional, why should seniors get the vaccine now as opposed to waiting until the spring, when I believe is when those who are 75 and older will have access to the vaccine? Why do this right now? And are seniors more at risk if they don't get the vaccine now?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We know already the data has shown us that our seniors today are more at risk than the general population, especially those over 75, which is the majority of our residents at Bickford Senior Living. And the death outcomes are very, very high with this particular group. So it is really a life-saving vaccination. It's going to prevent the infection and really prevent those bad outcomes that we see more with residents that have other comorbidities, other diseases that already weaken them coming into an infection. So the risk is much higher by age, by disease type as well. It's very, very important they get the vaccine, so then they're protected.
Very good. A lot of people I've heard just in the general public, they talk about how quickly these vaccines were produced, and there is a little bit of worry around that. They were produced quickly, they were approved quickly. Do we need to worry about that?
That's another concern we see really in the internet as well. All of these different, questions about is it safe? These vaccines have been produced very quickly because there was a great collaboration between multiple countries, governments releasing funds, the private sector, pharmaceuticals really jumping in. Some of these vaccines have already been in place with coronavirus. This is a different version of it. So they have these mRNA vaccines already kind of ready to go for regular coronavirus. So just trying to modify them to be ready for this, to be mass produced, was done very quickly. No step in the process of the approval of FDA was missed. They go through very stringent guidelines and review. And we know today that at least 3,000 participants have to take the vaccine for it to approve from a phase 3 to a phase 4 clinical trial. We've had over 50,000 people have received the vaccine in that trial setting. And today, we also have seen over 4 million people have been vaccinated as well in our country. So we know that the vaccines are safe. We know the side effects are fairly minimal, and people are doing well with these vaccines.
You mentioned these side effects. Let's talk a little bit about what some of those side effects are.
Most of the side effects are very similar to taking any kind of flu shot that most of our residents take during the flu season. You might get a little bit of soreness at the site where you had the injection. We've done several clinics already, and we're seeing very, very minor pain at the site. But more typically, as your body starts to build up some immunity to the vaccine, you might have that initial reaction of maybe a headache, maybe a slight fever, maybe some body aches. These normally last for no more than a day or so, and you can recover from those very, very quickly. As long as people can take some Tylenol or Advil, or certainly take some fluids, make sure they have plenty of rest. We do know the second dose of the vaccine sometimes has more side effects. And so again, just making sure you're rested, to take fluids, take some Tylenol or Advil if needed. Most of these symptoms should be pretty mild, and people can recover and even work with those symptoms.
So another thing that I'm sorry.
One thing I would add, Melissa, to the earlier question that you asked Ann in regards to the safety of the vaccine is, I think so many times people look at the speed at which this was done as a negative. One, I look at it as a positive because it's something that can happen quickly to be able to save the number of lives that this vaccine is going to save. And also, there's been so much publicity and so much known of this vaccine and this COVID. Can you imagine the stringency in which all eyes were watching? So my belief is that this is probably as safe and safer than any other vaccine that's ever been produced, because there's more people paying attention to this than anything that's ever been developed ever, in my opinion, just because of the number of individuals that are paying attention to this.
Such a good point.
I just add to that too, because really where the scientific community is looking at this is modernizing how we're managing vaccines today. This is innovative times for us. So this is not something that's done in a hurry. It's something that's really moved us as an industry in managing vaccines very differently than we have in the past. So this is actually innovative times that the pandemic has really pushed us into.
Another thing that has come up, or a question that's come up by folks, is can they get COVID-19 from taking the vaccine, or can they somehow give it to somebody else, give the virus to somebody else if they get the vaccine?
That's another really good question. Typical vaccines that have been produced in the past are often the actual virus itself. It's attenuated, it's not live necessarily, so it's vaccine you can take in smaller doses. This is different. These two particular vaccines that are out are called mRNA vaccines. These are genetic material. And what they do is they take a small amount of protein from the virus itself, and this obviously is injected, it goes into a cell, and that protein itself is what the body reacts to. So actually you're not getting any kind of virus at all, no live virus. You can't replicate virus from this. Also, that means if you don't have the virus, you can't give it to someone either. So it also means that you will not be able to give it to someone else. So people are safe in taking the vaccine, and other people with them are not at risk from getting coronavirus from the vaccine.
So what about a senior that perhaps has had COVID-19 already? Do they still need to get the vaccine?
As this is a new virus, even though coronaviruses have been around for a long time, this is a new version of it. And so I think because we know our seniors are most at risk, the advice from the CDC and from the federal government is for seniors, even if they've had it and or anyone had it in the past, to certainly have the vaccine. It gives you active immunity, it gives you that protection. We don't know how much protection you get from the actual having the infection itself. So this is an ounce of precaution, but certainly highly recommended that they do take the vaccine, even if they've had coronavirus.
I think so many of us are just, we're all growing weary, and our hope is that we're going to get this vaccine, and then we're going to be able to set the mask aside, and we're not going to have to worry about social distancing. Is that in fact what's going to happen? And if it is, when will that be, or do we know?
Well, I wish I could, answer that question, but the reality is we don't know. I do think this is certainly the step to move in that direction. Our stance will be that we will continue with the protocols that we currently have in place. We will continue to have caregivers in masks. We will continue to screen visitors, because the reality is we're not going to know who has taken the vaccine and who hasn't taken the vaccine from any individuals coming into our branches. So we will continue to follow the same infection control protocols that we had pre-COVID, and those more stringent post-COVID protocols we put in place as well. So I do believe, though, that soon we'll be able to move into worlds where our residents will be able to participate in communal dining. They'll be able to dine once again with their friends. They'll be able to have activities within our locations in a group manner, in a group setting. So this will be a way for us to more quickly move into more of a normal world than certainly if we did not have the vaccine. So I do think we'll be able to move into that in a much more quicker fashion than we would if we didn't have the vaccine.
Awesome. We are going to get these dates back up here on the screen in just a moment for folks to know, for those who are considering a move into Bickford at this time, to be able to take advantage of this vaccine. Before we get to that, though, I want to kind of close this section out with you two. Is there anything else that you want to bring out about this vaccine coming into Bickford at this time that I haven't already asked you?
Yeah, for us and for Bickford, I think the thing that I would add is that we are going to continue to really strongly encourage and get as much participation in the vaccine as we possibly can, both from our residents, from our employees, our Bickford family members. I want that for everyone in the community, because I think this is our best chance to be able to move into a world where we can eradicate COVID from our world and from our communities. So we are going to continue to strongly encourage our residents and our BFMs to participate. What's happening is we're scheduling 3 clinics. The great news is, if someone should happen to miss the first clinic, they're going to be able to participate in the second clinic and then the subsequent third clinic as well. So our belief and hope is that we're going to get a large participation of residents and employees in our clinics and be able to get into a situation where we have a lot of immunity within our branches. And that's my hope and desire, that we'll see that out in the community at large as well.
Exciting news to hear. Anne, any final thoughts from you for this particular part of our Q&A? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's about the numbers. We're over 20 million people infected with coronavirus, and we know the number is probably much higher. Testing wasn't in place early in the day. We know right now the pace of coronavirus is about 1.5 million people are getting coronavirus every week. We know our seniors are most vulnerable. And so for me, the game changer, the only thing that's going to affect this is clearly wearing masks and social distancing isn't doing it. Holidays have kept everyone together. So we know the only way for this to be eradicated is to take the vaccine. And so that's our strong stance. We are really strongly recommending people take the vaccine. It's a game changer for this pandemic.
Anne and Alan, thanks a lot for that vaccine overview. I kind of think we needed to hear that first to kind of lay the groundwork for the rest of the questions that come in. Alan, I know, has got to drop off, and you're going to stick around to answer questions from those of you at home who have questions that are medically related, and we'll be able to answer those for you. Once again, though, if you are at home, which I assume you are, or someplace, just use this form underneath the screen that we're sitting in or this slide is in. Just put in your name, put in your question, hit submit. That comes to us. And we will get your questions answered live right here today. So just ask away. So Anne is still with us. We pulled in a couple of other people. We have Samantha Goodman, who's the Director of Sales at Bickford. Hey, Sam, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. And then we have Michelle Adam, who's the Divisional Director of Resident Services. Thanks for being with us, Michelle.
Thank you.
So I think let's talk first about what it looks like to make a move to Bickford now, because I think when we see these deadlines again in a minute, that folks need to understand that even though it appears to be a short period of time, you all have this figured out as to how people can actually move in time, so to speak. You want to clarify?
Yeah, so some of these are a little tight. We understand that. And so I think that can be a little bit overwhelming. And so I want to point out that it doesn't have to necessarily be a physical move-in. So if you have to sell your home or do all of those things, it's very important to know that you don't necessarily have to do that. What we want you to do is all you would have to do is sign an apartment possession with us. And so what that is signing a contract stating that you would have the apartment. You would sign a contract saying that you are taking possession of the apartment, and a physical move into that apartment can actually take place after this date. And so it's very simple to do. We can meet with you either in your home, or you can come into the branch. A lot of our Iowa branches are still very open and receiving and doing tours in those branches. And so you can come in, or we can meet you at your home to be able to do that paperwork. And we can do that very simply, or we could do it electronically as well. But it's very important to know that that physical move-in doesn't have to be prior to these dates. You just have to take possession of that. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a virtual tour you can do, paperwork you can do digitally, you can make it all that work. I think another thing that comes up with people's minds when they're like, gosh, I want to take advantage of this opportunity to be able to get the vaccine, or to get the vaccine for my loved one, and we've been thinking about a move to Bickford anyway. I think it's helpful for them to think about, because they're going to think about things like, I got to sell my house, I got to clean out the closets. So that's not going to be an issue.
Right. Yep. And we have a lot of resources. Bickford in these areas in particular have been in the communities for a very long time. And so we have a lot of resources and connections to be able to help you with that. You don't have to do all of that before this. And so we have local resources to be able to help you. We have contracts with companies to be able to help you do this. We want to make this as easy as possible. And you don't have to worry about doing that ahead of time. Sign that apartment possession, get the connection, make that contract. That's the big thing, to get in and get the vaccine. And then we can help you do that. It is our, we want to be the advocate. We want to get you in. And then it's our responsibility to help you do that. We want to do kind of path of least resistance, be that advocate for you and help you do that. So please don't worry about that. Let us help you do that and take those steps.
And take the obstacles away too. Because I mean, if you don't have the perfect apartment for my mom right now, you'll get the perfect apartment at some point for her, right?
Yes, absolutely. My grandmother lived at Bickford of Ames here, so I understand. I've been on both sides of that, and I understand needing. She was a big gardener, so I understand needing the perfect apartment. She wanted a courtyard view, and so having that perfect space is important. And so absolutely, if you want to get in and have, that perfect apartment, a specific size or something like that isn't available at the time, don't let that be an obstacle. Move in or sign that apartment possession for a specific apartment. And then you are a resident of ours, and our internal wait list actually moves faster than our external wait list. And so you would have, that opportunity to move to the perfect apartment, that one that you want with that courtyard view or closest to the dining room or breadbasket. It's a lot easier to do that once you're one of our, internal residents. And then we would actually help you, do that move, so you wouldn't have to worry about doing that twice. Mm-hmm.
Sure, absolutely. So Sam, we'll give you a rest for a minute. I'm going to go to you, Michelle. And I think it's important for people to understand that move-ins have been going on, right? I mean, residents have been moving in even during COVID-19. How are you all doing that? How are those being handled?
Yes, we continue to have many residents move in with us, no matter what is going on with COVID, because it's very important that we ensure that we take care of the needs of families and residents. So some of the things that we do within Bickford is, of course, we do a pre-move-in assessment to ensure that Bickford is the right choice for your loved one. We also do pre-screens when your loved one will come and move in with us. And then some of the things we do internally to ensure that we keep your loved ones safe and our staff members, which we call BFMs, safe, is that we do pre-screens on anyone who comes into Bickford. We also collaborate with our local health departments and our local physicians and external care providers to ensure that we're following all the preventative measures possible in regards to keeping those residents safe. For instance, ensuring that we have appropriate PPE, which is personal protective equipment, your face mask, your gloves, face shields, those sorts of protective equipment that we need. And just really trying to keep the lines of communication open, I think, is what's really important. COVID is not black and white. It changes every day. And I think what we have to do is just be really flexible as Bickford family members, as well as residents, physicians, and other external care providers, and just really work together as a team to try to determine what is best for not only our residents, our family members coming in to see our residents, as well as our caregivers that are taking care of residents.
Yeah, well said. And in fact, you talked about how COVID-19 is changing every day. And I think it would be great to have you kind of give us an update, because I think I said a number earlier that isn't accurate. I think now it's like seniors over 65, they're starting to get the vaccine as well. So maybe just clarify the numbers for us, if you will.
Certainly. Yeah. And I think just to kind of put it in context that, right now there's 37 million doses of vaccine that have been distributed. There's about 17 million shots that have been given. In fact, between yesterday and today, 1 million shots have been given. So that's pretty phenomenal. But if you look at a country our size, that's just not fast enough. So at the end of the day, the vaccine distribution is still kind of a major concern. But until we have that vaccine at a level where we can impact the coronavirus itself, we know that the numbers, so for example, today the numbers are still around a 24 million, 500,000, and that continues to grow every day. And about 1.3 million every week are becoming infected. That's been the run number I've been watching with coronavirus. it's still here, still ever present again, isn't going away until we have a vaccine. And very sadly, we hit the marker of the 400,000 deaths with coronavirus. And so especially now we have some new versions of the virus out, which we know is normal, that viruses always have different genomic types. They change and they move. At this point, highly confident, Dr. Fauci has said that believes that the vaccine types we have, the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, completely cover this new strain. Again, very typical, very common, we see that. So I think that seems to be a good statement, but obviously it's very virulent, which means people can catch it more. And so our numbers aren't going away and going down anytime soon until we have the vast number of people vaccinated. And that's going to take through the course of the year for that to really happen. And our most vulnerable have to have it first. So that's kind of where we are. We're in something called 1A, which is distribution of vaccine to hospitals, long-term care, and then to us in assisted living. And so we know at the beginning of February, it'll start to shift where those in the community over 65, and that's the number that changed based on some English data that we know that today in the US, that's our at-risk group, 65 and older. Those with chronic diseases and different things as well are more at risk. And so that's why they've opened up to 65-year-olds in this next phase of vaccine rollout into the community.
That is good to know. You touched on this just briefly, but I'm going to ask you maybe for a little more clarification, because I know a new strand of the virus, I believe, was noted yesterday or the day before. So Bill's question is, will this vaccine cover the latest strand of COVID-19? And does that apply to all of the strands that pop up?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So there's about 8 to 10 genomic types. There are a couple of variants that still haven't got here yet. One's in Brazil. There's another one in China. And the one now, I think it's called B117. That's the one that came over from Europe to us. There's about 20 states so far, and probably more states than that, we don't know. When you have something that's easier to catch, like the common cold, that's what we're seeing. More of that will spread. So we anticipate more of that. But yes, the genomic strain is very similar to the other strains of the coronavirus, and it's fully anticipated that will cover this strain as well. And again, that's common. When we start to see strains that duplicate and start to replicate and change their genetic makeup, that tends to be second and third year for a kind of infection that we see, that becoming resistant to the vaccines. And that's why, for example, with flu vaccines, they change it slightly every year just to make sure we're ahead of that curve with flu. It'll be the same, I think, with the coronavirus as well. So right now we're good to go, good coverage. And I think because the coverage is so high, 94%, and if not higher, with both of these current vaccines, you've got great coverage to keep you protected. There's still a small window there, that 4 to 5% window of potential risk, but typically we see very minimal infections if that's the case.
Bickford, once the seniors or the residents of the Bickford communities are vaccinated, what will the visits be different? Will they be the same for family members or guests coming in?
Yeah, great question. And I think that goes and speaks to a little bit about the vaccine. So today it's 2 doses. With the Pfizer vaccine, it's 3 weeks apart. With the Moderna vaccine, it's 28 days or 4 weeks apart. And immunity occurs about 2 weeks after the doses. And so we know protection will be in place after that second dose, 2 weeks thereafter. And that's the optimum time. As you know, we're regulated by our states, but also by our local health departments. And so we, as Michelle mentioned, we do interact very highly with the states and with those local health departments as well, that tend to deem and dictate what we can do in relation to opening. And the things that affect that are things such as if we do have someone with a coronavirus, an infection in the branch, there may be restrictions there. Or even if we don't, but maybe the infection rate in the community around the branch is high, they will tell us as far as the phase openings and visitation as well. We have some states where we do have visitations going on. Michelle, clarify that for your states as well. So if we don't have active coronavirus cases and our positivity rates are great, we were doing what we consider porch visits. The weather's cold, so we've actually deemed in all of our branches in readiness an area that is protected for a family and a resident, the family or loved one to meet. And so as soon as that is in play, we can do that. We're already seeing in some states, dining is starting to open up more. And that's just exciting to see. We have social distance dining today, and we want everyone shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, sitting down and having a good natter at the table. And that's coming very soon.
Did either one of you, Sam or Michelle, want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just, in support of what Ann mentioned, the state of Iowa, the restrictions are a little bit more flexible as far as what we can do in regards to visits. And in Illinois, we're governed a little bit differently by our health departments, and they're a little more strict as far as county positivity rates and also what the governor requires us to do in those states. So I would say from a visitation perspective, it's all dependent on what we're looking at as far as positive numbers in our actual branch, as far as the county that you live in, and then of course the state level and what directions we are receiving from the state level and the health departments.
The whole goal obviously is for us to get to that stage.
Yeah, I just want to add in one thing quickly. Again, because this is kind of a moving target. So we were about a week and a half ago, tier 3, tier 2, and now we're down to tier 1. So basically in a period of about 10 days, we've gone down in some of those strict requirements in Illinois, which is fabulous. So I think that's going to start to loosen up very quickly. And once our residents are vaccinated and safe, certainly we're going to be pushing for that as well.
Cool. I want to set the vaccine aside for just a minute. I mean, that's a wonderful opportunity for folks who've been thinking about making a move to Bickford. And obviously now is a terrific time to do it, to take advantage of receiving the vaccine early. But there are so many other really great things about Bickford Senior Living. And I know as somebody who doesn't work there, but has worked with you guys for about a year now, there's something so special about your mantra, from heart of a caregiver to doing whatever it takes to make life wonderful for the residents there. It's a really, really special place. And I know, Sam, you probably have some good feelings about that too.
Yeah. Yes. As I mentioned earlier, I've been on both sides of the table, right? I've worked for Bickford for over 14 years, but I've also, been on the flip side as a family member with my grandmother living at Bickford. And my father, actually, after he retired from teaching, went and worked for Bickford of Ames so that he could see her every day. My grandmother, he could see her every day while he was there. So he retired from teaching and went and worked as the maintenance man too. So when we talk about it being a family business, it really is, because we're family run, which is another great attribute about Bickford. But I think that what's phenomenal about it is, you can go anywhere and get your basic needs and your care needs met. But Bickford really focuses on, those things that are unrecognized, that somebody doesn't even know that they need. And we really are a family, and you can feel the love and family that we are. And it's something that's completely different. And I think that it's those little things, those unrecognized needs, that really set us apart. And I think that you are going to show a video here that, represents a time and courage and a happiness, that when one of our branches went through and got their first COVID vaccine, you can see the love and happiness that they represent. And you can feel that when you walk into a Bickford, the difference that it is, and you have to feel that to experience it. And it's just something special. And, I've experienced it from both sides of the table, and it's phenomenal.
Yes, in this video, you will see some of the things the activities and things that were going on at Bickford have been going on because of COVID-19. You also see that this is a community that has already received the vaccine, as you said, Sam, for that first round anyway. And it's a really heartwarming picture of what life, I believe, is like at Bickford Senior Living. So take a listen.
You're broken down and tired. of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, I like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
Oh man, I am with them. I just want life to get back to normal again. That is such a special, special video and a great way to see what life is like inside Bickford.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking a little bit off camera here, and we have this going on in 63 locations, and we have all of our branches doing videos and rap songs, and with just phenomenal energy around this, because this is the only way, as I said, we're going to eliminate this and eradicate it, is by getting vaccine in the arms of our residents. But I think the music was beautiful to rise up, and so we're rising up against coronavirus. So we want to eradicate it, and that's the only way to do it. But just as you said, getting back to normal, being able to hug my wife, those kind of things are so precious, and we've been robbed of that this year. And so we're so excited again to get the vaccine. Absolutely.
And Michelle, you're in the communities more. You're probably seeing this a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just to add on what Ann said, that video is absolutely beautiful, and I would challenge anyone that is joining us today to go out and look at some of the other Bickford websites and look at some of the other stories, because that's not the only Bickford that has a beautiful story. Like Ann said, there's 60 plus Bickfords that are doing the same thing, and just all this energy around the vaccination clinics, because we truly feel like the vaccine is what is going to get us back to normal, back to pre-COVID, where we can, our residents will feel comfortable going out of the branch, families will feel comfortable coming in, and we just are so excited to move back to that new normal, because not only do our residents need it, our families and we need it too.
Absolutely. One thing we haven't talked about today on this particular town hall discussion is that about the life story, that when residents come in, that the family provides information, which is what you all call the life story, which helps you as caregivers to provide the right kind of care for that particular resident. One of you want to take that on and explain it a little bit better than I did?
I can go ahead.
Absolutely. Oh, Michelle.
I'll go ahead, Ann.
Whoever.
And add on.
All right. Yeah. So we have. It's very important for us to really get to know your loved one, and as we said earlier, it's all about the unique needs of that individual. Also, what we call unrecognized needs, and so we gather all this information about their life, their history, their favorite pets, the kids, their occupation, whatever it may be, the church they went to. So we get to really know them. And especially for some of our residents that maybe have a bit of memory issue or have really more advanced dementia, sometimes what they need is to see some of those familiar objects and items. So we put something together called Life Song baskets. It might be pictures, it might be a certain, it might be it could be a baby, a toy, it could be, a ball of wool, whatever that, is important for them, or maybe bring some calmness in a situation when they're stressed or they're feeling lonely or those kinds of things. And so we have the baskets, and we also have what we call Life Song stations, where again, there's a glamour station. That's where I would be putting on the makeup, getting the pearls on and some diamonds and a hat. That's me all day long. So again, just to try and help people if they're having some stress or some behaviors or some anxieties, we can help with that as well. But I think the other piece, just to kind of align with that, is that, as we said earlier, our doors have been open to having residents, families move in. And we've done that because needs don't change just because we have a pandemic. And for me, it's very important. I know it's a difficult decision to leave your lifelong home, a difficult decision to say, Mom, we need to move you into assisted living. A lot of guilt with that, feeling bad about that. But I want to let you know that first 30 days, this is the Bickford experience, where we're going to wrap our arms around that family member. We're going to make sure they've got their 3 squares a day. They're eating, making sure they're taking their medications. So the burden of all of that kind of comes off of you. And we do this well. This is what we do every day. And so the encouragement is obviously, yes, we have a vaccine, which is important to take and protect our vulnerable seniors. But really, it's also about all the love and the care and the unique things we can do. And it might be at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, we're bringing over your mom a glass of something she likes to drink, or it might be that she loves ice cream, and we bring that over. We like to do things like that surprise the individual, meeting kind of those unrecognized needs. And that's what I think is very unique about Bickford. But certainly, Michelle, jump in with anything else, because you probably have an example of something you could share with that as well.
Well, I was just going to say it, and I think that's what sets Bickford apart from many other assisted livings, long-term care living arrangements, because we do with every resident, not just during COVID, we look at unrecognized needs. And that's why that My Life Song is so important, because it looks at a total history of the resident's story, their life story, and why they are who they are today. And during COVID, it's very, very important, especially for those residents that were not able to see their loved ones, family couldn't come in, for us to take those unrecognized needs and do those unrecognized needs with residents. And like Ann said, it can be as simple as, Mary loves a certain perfume, and we go out and purchase her that perfume because her daughter wasn't able to come in and bring the perfume for her. But that is considered an unrecognized needs. And that is really what I think sets us apart at Bickford.
Oh, I would agree. And there's so many great stories like that. I won't even try to regurgitate, but I remember hearing hundreds of them last year, and it was so special to understand to what lengths Bickford caregivers go to help our loved ones feel comforted and at home within your branches and your community. So it's very, very special. Before we wrap up here, I just want to make sure that everybody will show the deadlines again. Let's get those up there one more time so folks can take a look at those. This list here on your screen is that of Western Iowa. So those are the communities in Western Iowa. Again, we don't want you to be fearful or concerned about the date, the deadline. Bickford, if this is something that you have been wanting to do or you've been thinking about doing, this is a perfect time to take advantage of this opportunity and to make a move to Bickford, or to move a loved one to Bickford, where they're going to have incredible care. This is the slide then that has the Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois communities on it. So take a look at that. And then I want to share Samantha's contact information, and we're putting just Samantha's up there for you, so that if you have any questions that you didn't get answered today, it's okay, because you can either jot down Samantha's phone number there, give her a call, send her an email, or this presentation that you're watching right now, we are recording it. And so as soon as we wrap this up here in a couple of minutes, this recording will be here on this website, this landing page, this link that you received in that email. You can send this email to other family members. You can go back and click on it and watch it again. And the form that's underneath here, it stays live. So if tonight you decide you want to go back and what did Ann say about the vaccine? You want to go back and listen again, do so. And if a question comes to mind, you can just ask it within that form and we will get back with you. I know that Samantha, you plan to connect with everybody who attended today here in the next, well, see, it's Friday. So maybe I'll let you decide when it is you're going to connect with them.
Yep, I'll make sure to reach out and connect with anybody and see if they have any questions. So that's perfect. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Well, unless you all have any final thoughts, I think those are the questions that I had for today. Any parting thoughts from any of you?
Well, of course, being the nurse here and making sure that we get our population vaccinated, I just want to reiterate that obviously we know that the only thing that's going to eradicate this is going to be a vaccine. So this is our golden opportunity really to take advantage of it. That's why we're wanting to appeal to you today to get your seniors, your family members to Bickford so we can get them vaccinated. But more importantly, so we can take care of them. So just make sure that you stay safe out there. We appreciate you attending this town hall with us today. And both Samantha and I have been responding to questions after these as well. I was speaking to someone this morning for a town hall yesterday. So we're here for you to support you with any questions you may have.
Sam or Michelle, you have anything you want to add?
I would just agree 100% with Ann. We are so excited that the vaccine we've had many clinics throughout Bickford, and we just really think this is a game changer. And I too want to thank everyone that has joined today. We are open to answer any questions that you have, and we're really looking forward to taking care of your loved one if Bickford's the right choice for you.
Excellent. Sam?
Ditto. So they've done a great job of saying that. So I appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, folks at home, for joining and listening in today. We hope we got your questions answered, but if not, keep on asking them. We will get those questions answered. Stay safe, stay well, and hopefully we'll see you at Bickford. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.